fourth one is shut up. You talk too much. Somebody says, I'm offering $5,000 for this, just nod and smile. It's powerful, isn't it? Silence is something there's not much of in this culture. I mean, you don't have to be unpleasant. Just look at them, and they'll start looking around. They'll go, okay, I'll take $4,500. They'll start coming down on their price, and you haven't done anything but grin. The worst thing was I went on this used car lot one time. I was just out kicking around. I was having fun. Saturday morning, I'm out cruising around. I saw this little Jeep, and I thought, that little Jeep looks kind of cool. I pull up, and I get on my car, and I'm looking at the Jeep, and I thought, I'm going to try this just to see how far you can take it. And it was really uncomfortable for me because I took it a little too far. I mean, because the guy's coming around, he comes out, bounding out of there, you know, he's talking. He's been in the coffee, you know, he can't shut up. And I'm just standing there looking. And he says, how you doing? And I said, never said a word. Just kind of, I acknowledged him, but I mean, I thought, I'm going to see what happens if I just say nothing. And I'm walking around it, and he says, yeah, we're asking $5,500, but the manager said for us to get some stuff sold. I bet you I can get you a deal on this. I'll bet you I can get, I mean, I think I can probably, right now, I could go to $4,500. And I'm just standing there. And I'm walking around it. And he goes, maybe, he said, if you want to put on payments, he said, we can work that out. He said, I can do anything. He said, probably get you some different wheels. And I got a friend down at the tire store, and if you did a deal this morning, I bet you I could get you some big tires on it if you want to do a mudding thing on this Jeep. He said, I bet you I can. And he says, yeah, he's just giving me stuff. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just kind of grinning, going. Finally, he says, I can tell a man like you knows what he's looking at with a car, and you can tell this car's been hit. If you'll just be quiet. I mean, it was an uncomfortably long silence. I was almost rude to the guy. But it was amazing. He just kept, you know? And price enters into that discussion, too. And other things will enter into that discussion that you could negotiate for that would make the deal sweet to you. Price isn't the only thing that makes a deal sweet, is it? Sometimes color, quantity, sometimes delivery. Other things make a deal sweet. So just learn to, it's okay. There's a dramatic pause when you shut up. Especially if you just ask a question like, is that price firm? And then don't say another word till they just keep, and if they ask a question, just kind of smile, nod, and don't answer it, and they'll just blah, blah, blah.
One of my favorite parts of this class is when Dave talks about negotiating. Why do I love that part so much? Because I am horrible at negotiating. Right now, I promise I'm worse than you. Maybe you think you're the worst. You're not. I'm the worst, and I'll prove it. A few years ago, my wife and I were gonna sell our car. We had this old Toyota Camry that had like 1 billion miles on it. No shocks, no struts. It just bounced its way down the road. And so we finally got somebody to come look at it. And I'll never forget, we were in the driveway, and there was a father and a son there looking at the car. And my wife said, well, I could see us selling it for $2,100. And then it was quiet. And I'm the kind of person that when it's quiet, I feel awkward, I feel uncomfortable. So to break that tension, I said, I don't know. I mean, I could see us selling it for $2,000. And then everybody looked at me, and my wife pulled me aside and said, just 1 second, please. She said, hey, just so I'm clear, did you just negotiate me down? Because we're on the same page, like we're on the same team. Did you just reduce our price? And I said, yeah, I think that's what I did. And she said, well, why don't you go inside and have a drink of water? Go relax, let me finish this deal. That's how bad at negotiating I am. That's why I love this part of the class, that Dave teaches you some tips. And my favorite tip, the one that I keep coming back to, is just be quiet. If you want to negotiate, that's all you have to do. The first person who talks usually loses. So be quiet, be smart, and listen to what Dave says. And maybe even you and I could become better negotiators.
Use the phrase, that's not good enough. That is a powerful phrase. If they say $5,000 for this car, you say, that's not good enough. They say $50,000 for that car, you say, that's not good enough. They say, we can do delivery by Friday. You say, that's not good enough. That phrase comes from an excellent negotiator, by the way, named Henry Kissinger. It's a phrase he has used a lot, according to his book, and a lot of multinational, international negotiating with diplomats. World-class negotiator. And when pages and when interns and when staff would bring a report in, put it on his desk, he'd say, that's not good enough. And they'd go back and work on it some more, and they'd bring it in again. He'd say, that's not good enough. And they'd come in all frustrated and say, that is all there is to know on this subject. He said, good, now that I have your best work, I'll read it. He sent them back out the door several times. That's not good enough. That's not good enough. That's not good enough. Very, very powerful phrase, especially if you say that and then you put it back with that last one, shut up. That's not good enough. Smile and be quiet. You're going to see some powerful, fun things happen. Now, this also can be used on you, so you need to be aware. That is a phrase you'll hear collectors use. If you're behind on your bills and you have a collector calling you and no matter what you offer them, if you want to pay the full balance off on the spot, they'll come up with something and say, that's not good enough, we got to add fees. They will come up with something. I had one time, I had a car and a boat on one note with a certain bank when I was going broke. And a lady called me on a Thursday evening. I had a real estate closing scheduled a week later on the following Wednesday. I was going to make enough on that deal to bring it current. It was 2 months behind. And I said, just that. I have a real estate closing next Wednesday. From the proceeds of that, I will be able to bring it current. Until then, I can't do anything. And she said, that's not good enough. Well, I had been studying these collectors and collections techniques, and so I just, I knew that was in her script, and so I thought, well, let's try a little of this back. And I said, so? Well, that wasn't in her training. And so she just bounced off the walls, went crazy. We're going to come pick up the car. I said, you're going to pick up the car over 4 days discussion. I mean, we're talking about 3 business days here. If you want to pick up the car, I'll have the keys ready. What day would you like to get it? Would Friday be better for you or Monday? What? You're just going to... I said, lady, I can't manufacture money because you've learned a technique in your school that says that's not good enough. The money will be here Wednesday. If you want the car before then, you can come get it. I'll hook the boat up for you. Because, I owe you guys about like $9,000 more on the pair than they're worth. Come get the stupid thing. I'm tired of you. Well, Wednesday, I guess I said, well, maybe that's not good enough. So beware, because some of these techniques are being used on you. You got to watch for it. Here's one that's used on you all the time, the good guy, bad guy technique, isn't it? You see it on television, good cop, bad cop, right? And that's kind of one that's known, but if it's done very professionally, you have to be very careful. I've got to check with my manager. For years in the car business, they used a process called position selling that was taught. And position selling was the person out there selling can't do any of the negotiating. They have to go back and talk to the manager who's back there in the booth. They keep him chained there. He has one eye in the center of his head, 2 fangs coming out and foam everywhere. And he's please don't send me back to the manager again. He's going to kill me. They come up with all this drama process, and there's this mythical or real person back behind the curtain, and we have to go back and check with the other curtain. The bad guy is just out of reach, and I'm the good guy. I'm on your team. I'm over here with you. It's us against them. No, it's not. And the way you neutralize that, and by the way, I don't recommend using that as a negotiating technique. Unless it's very true, unless you really do have to check with someone, but I wouldn't set it up as a technique. But if it's being used on you, the way to neutralize it is just go, wait a minute. I'm sorry, I've made a mistake. I came in here to negotiate. I was ready to buy something. I made the mistake. I thought you were qualified to do the deal. Apparently you're not. I'm sorry for that. I'll be happy to make sure you get your commission. But what I need to do is we need to set a time when I can talk with your manager so that I'm able to do a deal because I don't have a qualified appointment here. And go around them and pull the guy out of the back. And even if you're dealing with a collector, my supervisor won't accept that. You know who their supervisor is? It's the idiot in the cubicle next to him. And they swap off being each other's supervisor every other call. It's really what they do. Okay? It's a technique. My supervisor won't approve it. You don't have a supervisor. If you did, you wouldn't be acting the way you're acting. Let's talk to the supervisor. Great, I'm sorry, I can't talk to you anymore because you don't have the ability to do this deal. And I'm walking away from this discussion. So the way you neutralize it is you circumvent them by going to the authority that's supposed to be the bad guy.